There is an existing framework called the JCPOA to control the nuclear activity of Iran. We signed it at the initiative of the United States. We should not abandon it without having something substantial and more substantial instead. That's my position.
Well, they signed it at the initiative of President Obama. Let's be clear, it wasn't the whole United States. French President Macron challenging President Trump's disdain for the Iran nuclear deal, which is approaching a May 12th deadline for renewal. Here now on the phone is Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, a member of the House Judiciary Committee. Talk about that and other things. So, Congressman, this wasn't a treaty. This wasn't something that the Senate agreed on. This was a deal that President Obama made himself. And essentially it turned into a bribe, a multi-billion-dollar bribe, some of which was paid in cash. Why shouldn't we have disdain for this?
No, you're exactly right. It should have been treated as a treaty. It should have required a supermajority to be enacted. But remember the way this process worked under the Obama administration and the Congress flipped the burden around. I voted against it, thought it was a bad deal. I think the president has been clear that he doesn't like the deal either. We'll see what happens here in a few weeks, but I don't like it. Even if Iran follows it, they get to nuclear weapons.
Right.
And
right.
You know, since when has Iran kept their word and done what they're supposed to do?
Well, and it is a bribe that was made to people who want to destroy us, and that amounts to appeasement, does it not?
Yes. Not to mention our best ally in the world, the state of Israel, where the president's going to be going in a few weeks to open up put the embassy in Jerusalem and talk about that transition, which is a good thing and the right thing to do. So, no, you're exactly right.
All right, let's bring it back home because meanwhile, new revelations about James Comey and the friend to whom he leaked his infamous Trump memos, which, of course, were then leaked to the press. It turns out his friend received a kind of a special government employee status from Comey, and this gave Daniel Richman, he was the Columbia law professor, a pass to handle classified documents. I'm just wondering, is this the sort of thing that James Comey used to hand out to other people besides this one guy?
It's a great question, David. We don't know. We discovered that Mr. Richman had this special status, special government employee status, which seemed to indicate he could sort of come and go as he wanted. We presume that went along with a clearance. And we don't know if he was paid or not. We've heard reports that he wasn't, but we don't know that for sure. What I see is, you know, this guy who leaked the document then onto the New York Times had this special status that we learned about when Jim Rubicki, James Comey's chief of staff, was deposed in front of the Oversight and Judiciary Committees last fall.
And then you wonder how many other leaks were made in this way by James Comey. By the way, you just had a letter that you sent out to the Attorney General Jeff Sessions in which you talked about the raid on Michael Cohen's office. Michael Cohen, of course, is the attorney for President Trump. What are you trying to do with this letter?
Well, we're just trying to figure out, was the Attorney General consulted or involved in this? This is something Mr. Zeldin, Mr. Mez, and I and a few others were thinking about. And you know, this wasn't just any lawyer. This was the lawyer for the President of the United States. Mr. Rosenstein was very clear. The press has been very clear on this. This was done outside of the umbrella of the special counsel. Therefore, Jeff Sessions should not be recused from it. And it would seem to me when you're kicking in the door of the President's lawyer, that's something that should be decided or consulted with the chief law enforcement officer, namely the Attorney General.
And is there any indication that Mr. Sessions did sign off on it?
There is none. It seems like this was Mr. Rosenstein's decision to go with the District of New York and allow it to happen. But we want to know for sure if it all was the Attorney General consulted, or did he give any kind of advisement on this decision?
Finally, Congressman, I know you got to go to another vote, but there's a big question out there. Will there be a new House Speaker before January, and do you want the job?
Look, I've been encouraged by colleagues to consider it. If and when there's a race, I'm open to that. But I don't think there's going to be a race. Paul's been very clear that he's going to stay through the end of this Congress. What we focus on is doing what the American people send us here to do. Because if we don't do that, there ain't going to be a race for a House Speaker for Republicans. There'll be a race for minority leader. But if we do the right thing, then I think we'll have that race.
But you wouldn't say no to the job?
Well, I'm interested in looking at that, David. I am.
Congressman Jim Jordan, very good of you to join us. I know it's right between two very important votes, but we appreciate you making it to the phone. Thanks a lot.